This is Stephen Winzenburg. My first guest tonight is the best-selling author of 9 books, including the Birth Order book and Unlocking the Secrets of Your Childhood Memories. He's a practicing psychologist in Tucson, Arizona, and has appeared on all the major talk shows, including Oprah and Donahue. His latest book deals with the pressures of being the oldest child. It's called Growing Up Firstborn, and he's Dr. Keven Leman. Dr. Leman, welcome to the program tonight.
Hey, thank you, Steve.
To lay a foundation for this book, why don't you first explain the whole concept behind the birth order idea?
Well, simply, where you were born in your family really makes a big difference. The interesting thing is that most people have never really thought about it. When they hear about it, they say, you know, that's true. The first 2 children in our family are night and day different.
Sure.
And each of us, each of the little cubs who come out of the same den, as we walk out in life and begin to grow and develop, we become different. How come? We all came out of the same family. We all had the same parents. So lots of people have found birth order to be sort of an interesting way of trying to figure out how come God made us all so different.
Well, now, is there something physical about this, or environmental, or what?
I think basically it's environmental. There's been studies done, for example, where they've taken kids who were adopted, who may have been born lastborns in their natural family, come into a new family as a firstborn, and guess what? They grow up firstborn. They don't grow up like babies. So firstborns tend to be reliable and conscientious list makers. They don't like surprises. I kid them. Some of them have lists to find their lists. They're organized, perfectionistic. And I can hear people right now saying, boy, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about because my oldest brother is a slob. And I say, yeah, but didn't your oldest brother have a critical mother? Someone in the great state of Iowa just fell off their radio. You always have to measure up, always have to jump higher, always have to bring home the A's, always have to get the awards. And that can be a pretty tough job in life.
And is that why you wrote the book Growing Up Firstborn? Because
yeah, lots of firstborns struggle with that perfectionism that runs along with it.
Now you get to guess, what am I?
The firstborn son.
And why do you think that? Which is, you are correct, of course.
Well, I knew I was correct. That's why I said you firstborns. I just
most talk show hosts are firstborn, right?
You are. It's terrible. It's so easy to do. You mentioned unlocking the secrets of your childhood memories. When I was out doing that book tour, I was interviewed by 92 local talk show hosts from all around the country. And of the 92, 87 were firstborn or onlys. So,
now do you consider an only child then part of the firstborn, right?
Yeah, they're super firstborns. They're the Ted Koppels of life and the Arsenio Halls. They're the ones that they do things in a style all of their own. I mean, I'm serious. If you ever listen to Koppel interview a subject or a person, he takes that subject apart in surgeon-like style with great precision and sews them up by the time they have to go to commercial break at the end of the program.
Sure. Now, you say they're perfectionists, but also you call some of them discouraged perfectionists, right?
Yes, that's why I mentioned in our opening that there were some people, as I described the firstborn, as reliable, conscientious, and perfectionistic. Some people are thinking, my goodness, this guy couldn't be any further from the truth. Because my older sister or older brother is a real slob. But go into that older brother or sister's home or office and ask them to find something. And they'll know exactly which pile to look in. And the interesting thing to me is that those people always have a critical parent in their upbringing. And the best guess is it's the opposite sex parent, Steve.
But what do you classify as a critical parent? Because all of us as parents tend to criticize our kids at some point.
Well, those who can find a flaw at 40 feet.
Kind of nitpicky, you mean?
Yes. Those who are always shoulding on our children. We should do this, you should do that. And a lot of us think that that's the way to motivate children, but it's not a very healthy way.
And do they tend to pick more on the firstborn than they do on the second or third child?
Oh, sure. When the dog flops have to be picked up, who's the lucky person that gets to go and throw them in the neighbor's yard?
Right. So there's a lot of pressure involved, but you also say there's pressure and privilege in being number one.
Yeah, there's privilege. You get to drive first at 16. Is that true in the state of Iowa?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And there's a few privileges, and there should be more. I'm one that says grant the birthright to your firstborn son or daughter, let them stay up later, and too many parents, when the kids are growing up, make the mistake of announcing in General Patton style, now hear this, everybody in bed now. And we do that for convenience sake, But not a real good idea. I think we should grant the birthright to the oldest child. Even a 15-minute difference, Steve, makes a difference in that young adolescent's mind.
I noticed, too, with our kids that the firstborn tends to almost become a little parent at some time.
Oh, yeah, a little Attila. Let's call a spade a spade. I mean, our firstborn daughter, Holly, who I'm glad to say is a lovely kid, and I really mean that. I know I'm her father, but she's sensitive and loving and caring for other people, which makes Mommy and Daddy very proud. I mean, that kid was a powerful little buzzard, and I'm still convinced if Judge Wapner ever retires, that Holly Leman will be the replacement, because she has a tremendous sense of fairness and what's right, and she's got a bossy streak in her a mile wide.
Now, for the record, you are not a firstborn.
No, I'm a baby.
So why would you be writing books on this?
I was lucky to remember we had an interview tonight. Well, actually, our family was sort of classic. I had an older sister who was perfect and still is. She's the one with the clear vinyl runners in her home and the color-coordinated children, irons the Davenport for pleasure, alphabetizes her spice rack. You know the type. And I had a brother who was a quarterback on a football team type, firstborn son, rough and tumble, Prince Charming at the senior prom. And then there was me. Mm-hmm. I was Little Cub. That was actually my nickname, or Cubby to my friends. And I was the best at being the worst. Graduated fourth and bottom of my class in high school. So I was a typical baby, manipulative, social, outgoing, class clown. But it caught up with me when everybody else was going off to college and I couldn't get in college. Applied to 160 of them. Not one school wanted me in the entire country. Even our church denominational school turned me down. I even sent scripture about forgiveness. They were unimpressed.
Did your parents raise you differently, or what is the big difference between?
I think they let me slide by with things as the baby in the family. Again, interview anyone,
sure,
and you'll find that the baby of the family got away with a big M word, murder, and I was no exception.
Dr. Leman, what are some good jobs for firstborn children to get into?
Well, one of the things I think is smart for a parent to do is to let the firstborn child take a crack at paying all the bills in the family. Now, I think that ought to happen about age 11 or 12. Again, if you want to give a child practical application of mathematics and teach children how much it cost to run a family in 1990, what better way than to have them pay the bills? That means they actually sit down and actually write the checks. They don't sign the checks because mom and dad are in healthy authority, hopefully, over their children. But there's a good example of the kind of job that you can pass along to a firstborn.
Now, what about some of these new things? I see that they have teenage checking accounts and even teenage credit cards now. Do you think that's a good idea then?
Well, as a society, we tend to push children too much, and I think a parent is wise to exercise caution in that area. Kids grow up too fast, and then they have no place to go, so to speak. So I'm not suggesting that we hurry along childhood. In fact, I'm one that would like to delay it as much as possible. But the point is that responsibilities can be given to children that are good for them.
Basically, firstborns, you're saying, should get this?
Yeah, firstborns, but after the firstborn has had his turn, then that secondborn or thirdborn can also get that kind of responsibility, so that we just don't make the firstborn child the responsible one. That's my point. Mm-hmm. And when a kid hits the hormone group, ages 12, 13, 14, and all of a sudden they get interested in the opposite sex, and they also get involved in extracurricular activities at school, there's a good time to ease up on the responsibilities of the firstborn and, again, pass them down to laterborns. Because if a child is going to be active in things away from school, it makes all kinds of sense to at least the firstborn to ease up on the responsibilities the child has around the home so they can devote more time to those extra extracurricular activities.
What about putting the firstborn in charge of the other kids? About age 12 or so, 13, the parents start to...
Not a good idea. Again, I would never suggest to my readers anything that I wouldn't put into practice in my own home. We were blessed with a little 2.5-year-old daughter a couple of years ago, and it was a surprise, to say the least. I'm 46 years old. My wife is 44. I said, "You're what?" and there's a 9.5-year gap between our fourthborn and our thirdborn, which, according to all of my books, says that here we have a little firstborn. And she really is. She's very much like a firstborn, even though she's a fourthborn, because of that large gap. She's got 5 parents. But one of the things we did, which is very smart of the Leman clan, is we didn't make the kids instant babysitters. And a lot of parents feel like they can take license with their teenagers in a situation like ours and make them into instant babysitters. Not a good idea. Mm-hmm. If you back off and take your time, believe it or not, your teenagers will volunteer to take care of little ones, which is really a lot nicer than saying, you will do this, you will do that.
But just give them time, you're saying.
Yeah.
Dr. Leman, the one thing I'm most interested in finding out about is what about getting married? Should firstborns marry other firstborns? Is that dangerous?
Well, it's... I always hate to answer that question, but I'm going to... It is a little dangerous. When 2 firstborns marry, it's a little bit like 2 mountain sheep climbing in the ring. It's not an easy match, because firstborns know exactly how things ought to be done. You put 2 of those people together in marriage, it gets rather interesting. I've been researching this topic, Steve, for over 20 years, and have found that the most complementary marriage on paper is between a firstborn and a baby in the family, and a firstborn, and guess who? A middle child. Those monogamous middle children like George Burns and Bob Hope, believe it or not, make pretty good marital partners.
Yeah.
A lot of politicians are middle children. George Bush is the middle child.
Because they negotiate well? They're good at negotiating? Is that the idea?
Negotiating and compromising.
Yeah. We have a call. Lori, I believe. Good evening. You're talking to Dr. Keven Leman.
Yes, I was wondering if you run into a lot of, could be explosive situations if you've got like a firstborn that marries a lastborn. When you were describing the firstborns, I was listening to you and I thought, boy, that's my husband to a T. And I'm a lastborn, and I can see the big differences meeting head-to-head sometimes.
Okay, now I'm not sure I caught all of that, but...
I guess being as a lastborn, like I guess I heard him say, he was lucky to make it to the meeting. That's kind of me. I'm always late. I'm always disorganized or whatever, unorganized. My husband's meticulous perfectionist. So there's those opposites kind of. I just wondered if he sees that a lot when you have that situation with a firstborn marrying a lastborn. Or a baby.
Yeah, you do see it a lot. But my point is, it's not so bad that you're late. What's good is that you can help lighten up the meticulous-driven, has to be done right the first time firstborn. See, they're the ones that drop dead of heart attacks.
Yeah, right.
We live on forever.
Yeah.
So you got to run us over by a truck when we're 100,
Yeah, so you can complement each other.
Yeah, so whoever set opposite attract, I wish we could hunt that sucker down and give him a medal, because that person had to be pretty smart.
Yeah.
How does she do it, though, Dr. Leman? How does she put up with that?
Well, with a strong faith, number one. It's really sort of a challenging thought. If there's someone in life who really loves you as you are, then you really are a pretty lucky person. I think humor goes an awful long way in taking the edge off of the driven firstborn. I think sometimes firstborns have to be, especially firstborn men, who might have their head in the business world too much, need to be reminded that no one has ever been on their deathbed asking to see their P&L sheet, their profit and loss statement. So there are more important things in life than doing things perfect. And the sooner you learn that in life, the better you're going to get along with other people, the sooner your kids are going to enjoy you more, and the sooner you're going to get your priorities in line.
So, Lori, laugh a little bit when that happens.
Okay.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Before I let you get away here, I want to make sure to talk for a few minutes about unlocking the secrets of your childhood memories, because this is a little bit of a tangent here. You've co-written a book with Randy Carlson, dealing with, if you can go back to your earliest childhood memory, that will somehow help you get through the rest of your life, right?
Right. Lee Iacocca remembers asking his sister during the Depression if they were going to lose their home. That's his earliest childhood memory. Now, he says, these are his words, the guy makes $3.7 million a year, I should point that out. He says he still has all of his wide ties, all of his narrow ties. He cannot throw out stuff. He's a saver. He's a keeper. And all that Randy Carlson and I say in Unlocking the Secrets of Your Childhood Memories is, tell us your early childhood memory and we'll tell you who you are today. And there's even a correlation, of course, between the kinds of things you remember and birth order. Donald Trump remembers taking blocks from his brother Robert, building a building with him, Steve, liking the building so much he glued those little suckers together and refused to give them back to his brother Robert.
Now, you have a step-by-step way of taking people back.
Yeah.
And you say it's got to be a specific early memory, not just a general memory like I liked getting ice cream with my dad.
Right, just a specific memory. And for people who have a tough time, we ask them to go back to the early years and try to picture their bedroom or their house or their school, just to try it into something specific. And a very common letter that Randy and I will get every day is from someone who says, I didn't have any childhood memories until I read your book.
Right.
And as I went through it, things began to come to the surface. And some of them are, quite frankly, sort of scary.
Yeah, a lot of the early memories are bad. So how do you help people through those, to unlock them?
Well, what we try to do is to let people see that the memory itself can sometimes lie to you. It can, and in essence, you can take from those early memories and you can tell yourself all kinds of lies about yourself. Gene Hackman, the wonderful actor, had an early childhood memory that is not in the book, but it's really worth repeating here, of watching his father drive down the street and waving to him goodbye. Real simple memory, except he said, I knew in my heart that was the last time I was going to see my father. And his father left the family. That was the last time he saw him until he was an adult. And he hunted him down. And he said, I had to ask him eyeball to eyeball, how could you leave us? Don't you know what that did to my life, etc.? And he said something that really got my attention. He said, I changed my memory. As an adult, he says, I rethought it, and I thought it through, and I realized that there was reasons why my father left. Although my father never imparted those reasons to me, I knew as an adult that had to be awful hard for him to do. And so I began to forgive my father. And he said, I am so thankful for those years I had before my father's death. He says, if I wouldn't have done that, I would have never had the peace and joy I have in my life today about my father. You see, it gets back to understanding that all of us in life are pretty imperfect people.
Sure.
And that forgiveness factor really is a major happening if you want your life to change in a positive direction.
And how can we as parents make our children's memories positive ones?
Well, I think one of the things we can do is just remember that tomorrow morning across the great state of Iowa, the milk is going to spill, the orange juice is going to tumble, things are going to hit the floor that shouldn't. And when those things happen, my goodness, realize that you don't need a thrashing or a berating. You need a rag. You need a way of conveying to children in life you make mistakes, but you pick yourself up and go forward.
That's right.
And then realize that as a daddy, you have a tremendous effect upon your daughter. As a mommy, you have a tremendous effect upon your son in terms of who they're going to marry someday, etc. Take the time to be the kind of parent you know you should be.
Dr. Leman, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work.
Hey, thank you, Steve.
Great talking to you. Dr. Keven Leman, Growing Up Firstborn is the new book, and also Unlocking the Secrets of Your Childhood Memories.